I'm asking that this demon be respectfully returned back to hell as soon as possible.
A killer is sentenced for the shocking act he did to a 19-year-old college student.
Took her body down to the shores of Lake Michigan. He cut her up into pieces and disposed of her in the lake, mostly in the lake.
How can someone get to a point of inflicting such damage on a person, not only killing the person, but then dismembering, and then after that, discarding the body throughout the community? It's unconscionable.
However, in a twisted turn, he claims he's innocent.
I took this to trial without ever once trying to make a plea deal of any kind because I did not commit these crimes.
But does the judge buy that? Not at all, and we'll explain why. Thanks for joining us on Law and Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner. Sade Robinson was like most college students, a good head on her shoulders, a full life ahead of her, until she went on one date and never returned home. Then parts of her body washed up onto a beach.
People lose their children. That's sometimes a part of life. I understand that. But to lose your child in this manner is unthinkable.
No one ever should go through what the family of Sade Robinson went through.
There is nothing that can justify what he did to her. And what he did was much more than just murder or dismember her. He erased her independence, her ability to fight for herself. He tried to erase her existence and her value.
In early April of 2024, 19-year-old Sade Robinson was going on a date with a man she met at her college. It was their first date together, too. But then Sade wasn't seen or heard from again. Their date was on April 1st. Then on April 2nd, a human leg was found near a beach. That was the same day Sade was reported missing. Officers went by her home, but she wasn't there. Then they got a call about a car on fire. That car belonged to Sade. When detectives canvassed the area, they also found a human foot a few days later. Then a torso and an arm washed up on the beach miles away from Milwaukee. I mean, there's no way it could have been Sade, right? Officers were able to get in touch with Sade's friend, who told them that she had the Life 360 app on her phone. When police traced her location through the app, her phone pinged near a Wisconsin park. Investigators also looked into who Sade was last with, and records showed one of the last people she was communicating with was someone named Maxwell Anderson, the man she went on a date with. The two met at a local spot called Twisted Fisherman. The owner told investigators Maxwell was a former employee, and a bartender said they served Sade and Maxwell, who appeared to be having a casual conversation before leaving together.
And what we know is that while at his house, Sade became incapacitated. She was grabbed, groped, had her clothing removed until she was removed from his house around 12:45 a.m. going into April 2nd.
Investigators saw video from the Milwaukee County Transit System bus, which showed someone walking away from the car fire. That person was wearing dark pants, a gray hoodie, and carrying a tan backpack. That person got on the bus and was heading near an address to none other than Maxwell's home, and was later seen going through a back gate at a nearby home in Maxwell's neighborhood. Officers later stopped Maxwell while he was driving his SUV, and he was arrested a few blocks from his home. According to a report by Fox 6, an informant told police that they were at Maxwell's home on March 5th of last year, and Maxwell showed the informant his basement, which included items you would find in a horror movie: 3 saws and a plastic tarp that covered a sanitation sink, the floors, the walls, and even the ceiling. The informant told investigators Maxwell told them that he intended to kill Sade, dismember her, and dispose her body throughout the city. This story is so heartbreaking, and if you're ever worried about your safety, we have a product that might give you a little peace of mind, and that's the Law&Crime Safety Bracelet. This is a bracelet that you can wear around your wrist, you can keep in your car or in your purse, and it includes multiple items. A whistle which has a classic high pitch, great for drawing attention when you need it. A compact flashlight that can be used to guide you in the dark or signal for help. A seatbelt cutter that you can use in case of a car emergency, and that's just to name a few. So right now you can go to truecrimegoods.com/LCnews and use promo code LCnews15 for 15% off. Again, that's promo code LCnews15 for 15% off.
He had cut off both of her legs, cut off one of her arms, cut off one of her breasts, and cut off her head. Her head has never been recovered. As you can tell from what you've read in the letters and heard today, Sade was a completely innocent victim. She died alone in an unfamiliar place. Her last moments had to have been terrifying. And then after being killed, she was disgraced in the worst way imaginable, having her body cut into pieces, having her head cut off by the defendant who tried to make her disappear from the world. This is the most heinous crime this court will see. It doesn't get more serious than this, and it shows that the defendant has a depraved heart, and he has demonstrated a total lack of remorse, lack of accountability, and the gravity of this offense supports never letting him out of prison.
Maxwell Anderson pleaded not guilty to first-degree intentional homicide, dismembering a corpse, arson, and hiding a corpse. But a jury in June of this year convicted him on all of those charges. And during his sentencing, it couldn't have been easy for Sade's family to come face to face with her killer one final time.
He stole Sade's chance to be an adult, to choose who she would and would not let into her life, to prioritize herself for the first time and do what makes her happy. As a result of his actions, I have had to grow up way faster than a 16-year-old should have to. I had to communicate with law enforcement, take care of my family, physically pick my mother up off of the ground, on top of trying to deal with my own loss, because he left them all too weak and broken to do anything. I had to quit my job because Sade got me that job, and the whole time I was there, I worked with her. I saw the effect she had on people, the way everyone lit up from her presence, the way she made everyone, from customers to coworkers feel special, which meant that I had to watch all of that go away. He made it to where I couldn't go to school without people giving me looks of pity or no longer knowing how to interact with me, because neither them or I knew what to say, for there was nothing you could say for what he did. He made it to where I cannot ride my bike without random but kind strangers stopping me because they feel the need to pray for me and my family despite not knowing us. He made it to where I cannot trust anyone, not just emotionally, but I cannot meet any person without the fear that they're gonna harm or kill me. Because all my sister did was meet someone, and as a result, he ended her life. I beg you to not let this man have any type of parole. You heard his ex-girlfriend describe the psychological abuse and self-harm he tried to impose on her. His behavior is clearly a pattern, and there is no way that after he has demonstrated the extent of what he is willing to do to a person so casually, he should ever walk these streets again. He still refuses to even admit what he did, and the jury and the public did not even have to be there to unanimously know what he did. He is clearly a danger to the public and should never be given another chance to cause anyone such tremendous harm the way he has done to my family.
Sade's mom, Sheena, rightfully didn't hold back her thoughts on her daughter's killer.
Your Honor, I am asking that everyone in this courtroom be protected through the white light by this devil that sits beside. My daughter referred to you as a man. You will never be a man. You're a
Ms. Scarborough, if you could direct your comments to me, please.
Yes, Your Honor. First off, Your Honor, I would like to thank you and the entire team for what we all had to endure, which was it was freaking torture to even have to be dragged through what we were dragged through. This demon and his attorney, they knew exactly what he did and what he was responsible for. They took us through extreme agony and pain. We are already dealing with so much trauma. There's no such thing as justice with what you did to my daughter and what you have done to my family. I have bust my for over 20 years to raise the best possible angelic light worker kids that do nothing but good. My daughter had to cross your demonic path. You plotted and planned to kill, dismember, then you disrespectfully spread my daughter across the Milwaukee. like a piece of trash? How dare you? My daughter was everything. She was everything to all of us. As my baby explained, she had a different impact in each and every one of our lives. There's so many strangers and individuals in the community that I have engaged and met that she has touched and impacted. This has affected the world, the community in such extreme ways. There's no way in hell we should have even ever went through this freaking trial that you drug us through. You knew you were guilty. You're negligent, mammy and pappy, them demons. I'll deal with them later. But I want you to know that you can no longer hurt my baby. She's in heaven. She's protected. We roll deep. My ancestors roll deep. When you touch my daughter, you with the wrong family. We ain't no and you should have never touched my daughter.
You can't really blame Sade's mom for her emotional speech. She's feet away from her daughter's killer. And the worst part, not all of her body has been found, something both of Sade's parents are still coming to terms with.
I'm going to respectfully request that you confess where the rest of my daughter's crown is, if you have any respect left for me and her father and her sister and the rest of my family in this community. You've already done the worst. You can at least give us that much.
What he has done is inconceivable. And to know that there's a chance I might not even have her completely to be able to put her at peace brings me night terrors and constant mental chaos. He has this. My daughter had a lot of life left to live. We talked a lot about her future. When she decided to come to live with me, and I got custody of her, I started to take her to colleges and things like that. And because before then she had no goals to go to college or anything like that. So I took her to like Howard University, FGCU, and she got the experience, and she started to change her perception of her goals and what she wanted to be and what she wanted to do. She had so much life left to live, so many goals that was taken from her. And to me, it's not just that she's not here, it's the way that she's not here. I can't wrap my mind around it. Somebody that does something like this doesn't even deserve. I think death is a way out. You deserve what you get. He deserves the punishment that he gave to my daughter. Everything that he did should be done to him. That's how I feel. To me, that's justice. I don't feel like he has a right to walk around and breathe air, eat breakfast, brush his teeth. He doesn't have that right. The moment he done what he did, he lost that. Any basic human rights. No man should be able to live doing what he did.
The prosecution urged the judge not to give Maxwell Anderson any chance to get out of prison, while the defense hoped there would be some kind of chance for parole.
One way or the other, whether he's granted the opportunity to be, and I use the word parole, obviously we understand that it means extended supervision. It's often used interchangeably, but we're referring to some future hope that Mr. Anderson would have the opportunity to be released from custody. And the point of that is that he will be supervised by the Department of Corrections for the rest of his life, no question about it. And he has been in custody now, obviously, for over a year, in solitary confinement, which is about as horrible of a condition as a person could ever be confined in. There are basically the unit of the jail, the unit of the jail that he's in is one where there's mental health patients, there's people who are going through substance abuse withdrawals, and so it's a torturous way to exist. Obviously, there are very real safety concerns that Max has going off to prison. We've, I think, expressed some of that in our written submissions to the court, that is a real consideration, because at the end of the day, this is not mob justice in this country. People have the right to a trial. They have the right to the evidence to be presented, the right to be represented by lawyers, and the right to test that evidence, and the jury return the verdict that it returned. And it's your job to determine the sentence. But I want to emphasize that whether you agree with our recommendation, the state's recommendation, or something in between, no matter what it looks like, Mr. Anderson is going to be saddled with this conviction and the supervision and the incarceration for the rest of his life. As he sits here, I struggle to wrap my mind around some of the case just like everybody else. We heard the evidence. We sat through the trial, and I certainly appreciate the state reciting it again today, but I don't think any of us have forgotten it. And as you read in the pre-sentence report, I'm not going to get into the details of it, but you read Mr. Anderson's version of events. He maintains that he didn't commit the crime.
Some defendants, when they get the opportunity to speak to the court before sentencing, they usually take accountability for what they've done, maybe even apologize, but not Maxwell.
I would like to start by saying that from the bottom of my heart, my deepest and most sincere condolences go out to Sade's family, as well as everyone else affected by this tragedy. That being said, Your Honor, I took this to trial without ever once trying to make a plea deal of any kind, because I did not commit these crimes. And so I plan to appeal my convictions, while I hope and pray that further investigations not only prove my innocence, but find and deliver true justice.
Anything else you wish to say?
No, ma'am.
And like I mentioned in the beginning of this story, the judge wasn't buying Maxwell's version of what happened.
Now, you get credit for taking responsibility. You get credit for resolving a case early. You get credit for stepping forward and saying, what I did was wrong. Because usually this first step in rehabilitation is taking of responsibility. And we didn't have that here. That's why it's important to read what his version is. So you heard him say today that he didn't commit this crime. What he said about the offense was that they met for food and drinks and they proceeded to his apartment, and that's pretty much all there is to say, he said. He offered no other information as to what transpired that night. He later said that he regretted he did not walk Miss Robinson to her vehicle when she left his apartment, and he believed it was at that point she was abducted by an unknown assailant, quote, either from the alley or from my backyard, unquote. When asked how he accounted for his presence in the area where Miss Robinson's vehicle was set on fire, Mr. Anderson said that he was set up. He stated he was in the area to buy marijuana, and quote, and all it would have taken was for someone to know where I lived and where I'd be in the morning, unquote. He would not tell the writer when or how he made the arrangements to purchase the marijuana, and then instead stated, quote, I plead the fifth. He then went on to point to things that he claimed were egregious errors at the trial. He claimed that there was a video that showed the photos on the phone and that the state only played stills of the video. That wasn't the evidence at trial. Am I correct? Yes. He claims that the still photo that showed his hand grasping Ms. Robinson's breast was part of a video and it was only a still that was shown. Incorrect, correct?
You're correct.
Okay. He indicated that at trial it was flaunted, the difference in age. And when I read that, I was somewhat shocked because I didn't really find that that was pointed out at all during trial. I mean, it was mentioned how old she was, but other than that, I didn't think that that was in any way an issue, and it barely even made it into my notes. So I thought my point is, I thought it was interesting how his view of reality seems different from what I find truly transpired. How can someone get to a point of inflicting such damage on a person, not only killing the person, but then dismembering, and then after that, discarding the body throughout the community? It's unconscionable, is where it comes down to. I did read the letters that were supplied on behalf of Mr. Anderson, and I do agree. They paint a picture of a man who helped his family when in need, who cared for animals, who went out of his way to love and support his family. But they love him, and that's clear. And that weighs on his behalf. You know, the fact that there are people out there that care and love him, that says something good. You know, quite often we do trials or we go to sentencing and there's no one here on the behalf of a defendant, which is really tragic and sad. So it says something good that a family does still care about him. I have reviewed the pre-sentence and I've taken into consideration what's stated therein. I have to look at whether you're remorseful, and I don't think you're remorseful in any way. I don't think that you have gotten to the point of taking any form of responsibility for what transpired. It's beyond imaginable for a parent to think of not being able to know if your children are dead or alive, and then to learn that they were dismembered and disgraced to the extent that this poor girl, her body endured, is beyond understanding.
And in the end, the judge sentenced Maxwell to what the law allowed: life in prison with no chance of parole. Online records show Maxwell Anderson was transported from the Milwaukee County Jail to the Dodge Correctional Institution on August 4th. Thanks so much for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Elizabeth Millner.